The notification appeared on my primary monitor at exactly 6:14 in the evening. My name is Julian and I am 28 years old. I reside in a luxury high-rise apartment in downtown Chicago. I work as a senior quantitative financial analyst for a hedge fund. My professional life revolves around identifying anomalies in massive data sets. I track missing capital across international borders for a living. I recognize the catastrophic anomaly on my private banking dashboard. My offshore savings account was completely drained within the last hour. The exact missing balance was $142,550. This account required a dual-factor biometric authentication protocol. It is designed to block unauthorized external transfers automatically. My mother had requested access to my physical security key 2 days prior. She claimed she needed it to verify a minor discrepancy on our joint tax return. I foolishly bypassed my own security protocols out of residual familial obligation. She used that temporary access window to wire every single dollar. She transferred the balance directly into a corporate account controlled by my brother. My brother David is 31 years old and perpetually unemployed. He recently convinced my parents to fund his absurd luxury sneaker boutique. He required massive initial capital to secure a premium commercial retail lease. They decided my accumulated emergency fund was the perfect source of capital. My smartphone vibrated heavily against the glass surface of my desk. It was a group text message sent directly from my mother. She told me to be a team player and support my brother. She included a photograph of David holding a bottle of expensive champagne. They were celebrating their financial extraction while I stared at a zero balance. By the way, what exact time is it where you are right now? Have you ever had a trusted family member betray your financial security? Let me know your specific experience in the comments section below. I did not throw my mobile device across the room. I did not experience a sudden surge of uncontrollable rage or panic. Emotional outbursts are highly inefficient responses to unauthorized capital redistribution. I simply adjusted the ergonomic settings on my office chair. I opened a sterile command terminal on my secondary monitor. I took a slow breath of the conditioned corporate office air. The forensic data collection phase was now officially active. For as long as I can recall, my family treated me as a diversified financial asset. I was never a son to my parents. I was simply a highly reliable dividend yield. My mother, Eleanor, orchestrated this parasitic ecosystem. She utilized emotional gaslighting with terrifying precision. Whenever my brother David experienced a catastrophic failure, she manufactured a crisis. She would call me late at night, breathing heavily into the receiver. She would claim his life was fundamentally ruined without an immediate capital injection. David has launched exactly 7 failed business ventures in 9 years. He attempted a premium dog walking service that lost $12,000. He tried importing unregulated dietary supplements from overseas. That specific disaster cost my parents exactly $41,300 in legal settlement fees. I was always forced to absorb the collateral financial damage. My father simply sat in his leather recliner and watched in silence. He believed my lucrative career in algorithmic trading mandated total financial submission. He frequently stated that family wealth is a shared communal pool. They operated under the delusional assumption that my money was practically infinite. As a quantitative analyst, my compensation structure is heavily weighted toward performance bonuses. My base salary is precisely $275,000. However, my year-end bonus frequently exceeds $400,000. I achieve this by building high-frequency trading algorithms. These complex computer models execute thousands of trades per millisecond. I generate massive profits for my corporate employer. My parents somehow viewed my professional success as a personal insult to David. They believed my wealth was a complete cosmic accident. They insisted my brother just needed one massive financial break to achieve absolute greatness. They would demand arbitrary sums like $6,420 for his rent. If I refused, my mother would threaten public familial excommunication. She would text my extended relatives and accuse me of severe financial abuse. I maintained an encrypted private ledger documenting every single forced extraction. Prior to yesterday morning, the cumulative total drain from my accounts was $94,000. I always classified their extortion as a manageable operational loss. I assumed keeping them financially stable protected my own psychological bandwidth. I was completely wrong about the long-term sustainability of this flawed model. The blatant theft of my primary savings required an immediate and brutal permanent market correction. My parents never understood the invisible financial infrastructure I maintained for them. They assumed their comfortable lifestyle was simply the natural order of the universe. They never witnessed the complex algorithmic systems I deployed to optimize their daily existence. As a quantitative analyst, I manage wealth using ruthless mathematical precision. I applied these exact corporate methodologies directly to their personal household finances. They mistook my silent architectural labor for basic expected filial duty. Let me carefully outline the exact digital systems they currently take for granted. 4 years ago, my father faced a massive audit from the Internal Revenue Service. He had illegally commingled his personal funds with his small hardware business. I personally designed a new corporate holding structure to shield his remaining assets. A corporate holding structure is basically a legal fortress that protects your personal money from business liabilities. I established a series of nested limited liability companies in the state of Delaware. I filed the exact articles of incorporation using my own registered agent credentials. I saved them exactly $68,412 in back taxes and severe financial penalties. I also managed the automated payroll system for my brother's previous failed business ventures. I utilized an enterprise-grade application programming interface to route his vendor payments. An API is just a digital bridge that allows different software programs to talk directly to each other. I held the master administrative keys to his entire online payment processing gateway. Furthermore, I managed the automated escrow accounts for my parents' primary residential mortgage. I precisely timed their property tax disbursements to maximize their monthly interest yields. They lacked the fundamental financial literacy to manage a simple monthly household budget. I was the silent fiduciary operating behind the curtain of their chaotic lives. I possessed total administrative control over their investment portfolios and their digital banking identities. I even managed the two-factor authentication routing for their primary communication devices. They foolishly used my custom digital infrastructure to facilitate their recent financial theft. They wired my stolen capital directly into a corporate entity I personally registered and legally control. I maintain complete super-user access to the exact digital ledger they just utilized. I opened my highly encrypted password vault and retrieved the master administrative credentials. The invisible trap was already fully built. They had simply locked themselves tightly inside it, completely unaware of their fatal mistake. The digital clock on my monitor read precisely 9:42 in the evening. I initiated the comprehensive severance protocol from my secure workstation. The first objective was the immediate neutralization of my brother's new retail venture. The stolen capital was currently resting inside a commercial checking account. That specific account was legally tethered to the Delaware limited liability company I formed. I securely accessed the commercial banking portal using my master administrative credentials. I immediately executed a total capital freeze on the primary operating account. I officially flagged the recent incoming wire transfer as highly fraudulent. The precise sum of $142,550 was locked. I then shifted my analytical focus to my parents' personal financial infrastructure. I systematically revoked their digital access to the property tax escrow accounts. I logged into the primary residential mortgage portal and removed my legal guarantor status. I meticulously canceled the automated clearinghouse transfers that funded their monthly utility bills. I deleted their authorized user profiles from my premium corporate credit card network. My mother used that specific card to purchase premium groceries and luxury cosmetics. She averaged exactly $1,420 per month in casual daily expenditures. That undocumented revenue stream was now completely and permanently severed. Next, I systematically dismantled the protective legal fortress surrounding my father's small hardware business. I navigated directly into the state corporate registry portal online. I formally resigned as the primary registered agent for his 3 nested corporate entities. I submitted the official digital withdrawal forms directly to the State Department of Revenue. This precise administrative action instantly removed their protective corporate veil entirely. My father was now personally liable for all pending commercial vendor debts. The total outstanding business debt was precisely $34,890. He would automatically receive the commercial default notices within exactly 72 hours. Finally, I targeted their primary digital communication architecture. I securely accessed the administrative dashboard for their cellular network provider. I manually unlinked their specific mobile devices from my corporate telecommunications package. I triggered a remote factory reset on my brother's primary smartphone. His specific device was legally registered as a corporate asset under my personal name. The remote data wipe command executed successfully in exactly 4.2 seconds. Every single unauthorized financial bridge was now completely and entirely incinerated. I slowly leaned back in my ergonomic mesh chair. I observed the silent command terminal reflecting on my glass screen. The digital financial severance was absolutely and mathematically flawless. I did not feel any aggressive anger or lingering emotional resentment toward them. I simply experienced the quiet satisfaction of a successfully executed algorithmic function. They had aggressively stolen my emergency capital to fund a delusional retail fantasy. I responded by systematically deleting their entire heavily subsidized financial reality. The protective digital firewall was now permanently and legally removed from their lives. They were completely exposed to the brutal consequences of the free market. The primary impact of the severance protocol materialized at precisely 8:14 the following morning. My encrypted email server registered a massive spike in incoming communication traffic. My mother attempted to purchase premium organic groceries using the deactivated corporate credit card. The transaction was declined at the local retail point of sale terminal. She immediately dialed my private cellular number exactly 14 consecutive times. My automated call screening algorithm routed her directly to a secure digital voicemail box. I listened to the recorded audio file while analyzing my morning market data feeds. Her voice was artificially trembling with manufactured maternal panic. She claimed my cruel actions were causing her dangerous heart palpitations and severe distress. She demanded I instantly reactivate the financial infrastructure and release the frozen retail capital. She stated that a loving son would never weaponize money against his own blood. This is a textbook application of emotional gaslighting designed to force immediate behavioral compliance. I simply archived the audio file and logged the interaction in my secure database. 12 minutes later, my brother David initiated his own aggressive communication vector. He bypassed the cellular network and sent a highly threatening electronic mail message. He had attempted to pay his commercial leasing deposit for the new sneaker boutique. The commercial bank teller informed him the account was locked pending a fraud investigation. His email was written entirely in capital letters and contained 17 exclamation points. He aggressively threatened to hire a ruthless corporate attorney to destroy my professional career. He claimed he possessed legal equity in the digital holding companies I had created. This was a mathematically impossible claim because his signature was never on the documents. He gave me a strict 2-hour deadline to transfer the stolen funds back. If I failed to comply, he promised to physically visit my hedge fund office. He intended to publicly accuse me of embezzling his legitimate small business revenue. My father remained entirely silent during this initial wave of chaotic familial panic. He was likely reviewing the official state notifications regarding his sudden loss of corporate shielding. He would soon realize his personal assets were completely exposed to his commercial liabilities. His vendor debt of $34,890 was now due. I calmly exported David's threatening email into a pristine portable document format file. This file format preserves the exact layout and timestamp of the original digital evidence. Threats of physical workplace disruption require immediate and precise legal documentation. I forwarded his written extortion attempt directly to my corporate physical security team. I included a high-resolution digital photograph of his face for their facial recognition cameras. I revoked his visitor clearance for the downtown corporate office building. The biological panic was escalating exactly according to my predictive behavioral models. They were rapidly consuming their remaining energy trying to break my unyielding digital firewall. I took a measured sip of my perfectly temperature-controlled dark roast coffee. The digital defensive fortification was now holding perfectly. To permanently neutralize their incoming legal threats, I required absolute forensic proof. I needed undeniable receipts to crush their false narrative. They always relied on chaotic emotional arguments to obscure the truth. I exclusively rely on immutable system logs and verified mathematical data. I accessed my secure cloud storage environment and initialized a clean data warehouse instance. A data warehouse is simply a highly secure digital vault used to analyze massive amounts of information. I needed to extract the exact digital footprint of their coordinated financial theft. First, I queried the historical packet capture logs from the primary residential router. I wrote a complex structural query language script to filter the localized network traffic. This standard programming language allows me to communicate directly with large relational databases. I isolated the specific media access control address belonging to my mother's personal tablet. I cross-referenced her web browsing history with the exact timestamp of the illegal wire transfer. The metadata revealed she spent exactly 47 minutes inside my private banking portal. She had methodically reviewed my entire transaction history before maliciously draining the account. Next, I pulled the complete historical communication records from their telecommunications carrier. I deployed an automated data scraper to extract text message content from their cloud backups. I ran a natural language processing algorithm across their private group chat conversations. This analytical tool simply scans text to identify specific repeating keywords and underlying emotional sentiments. I searched for my legal name alongside the words wire, capital, and sneaker. The analytical results were mathematically staggering and deeply illuminating. I uncovered a continuous 4-week thread of synchronized psychological manipulation tactics. They literally scripted out the theft of my $142,550. My brother had texted my mother a highly detailed outline for the security bypass. He explicitly instructed her to request the physical authentication key under the guise of tax preparation. They had documented their entire fraudulent methodology in plain unencrypted text formats. He even promised to buy her a premium luxury vehicle once the retail boutique became profitable. I meticulously exported all of this structured data into a comprehensive read-only PDF file. I generated a cryptographic signature for the final master documentation package. This mathematical signature officially proves the electronic file has never been altered or digitally tampered with. I compiled exactly 318 pages of categorized text messages, network logs, and banking transfers. The administrative trap was now fully armed and completely legally flawless. I had successfully transformed their sloppy behavioral exhaust into an airtight forensic intelligence dossier. I saved the master file to 3 separate encrypted hardware drives. I placed 2 specific physical drives securely inside my fireproof residential floor safe. The 3rd drive remained safely inside my leather briefcase. The evidence was officially ready for the inevitable physical confrontation. They falsely believed their familial bond would magically shield them from facing severe criminal fraud charges. They were drastically underestimating my cold corporate resolve. I smiled. Every Thursday at exactly 12:15 in the afternoon, I consume a highly specific macronutrient profile for lunch. I frequent a premium organic bistro located exactly 3 blocks from my corporate headquarters. The establishment maintains a controlled acoustic environment that I find highly optimal. I ordered my standard grilled salmon fillet and precisely 200 grams of steamed asparagus. I selected a quiet corner booth with a clear strategic view of the primary entrance. My mother and my brother entered the bistro at exactly 12:24. They had clearly tracked my physical location using a legacy location sharing feature. I had intentionally left that specific digital breadcrumb active for this exact physical encounter. My mother wore her expensive beige cashmere coat to project an aura of maternal warmth. David wore a poorly fitted designer suit that cost approximately $2,000. They approached my table with carefully manufactured expressions of deep familial concern. My mother slid into the booth directly across from me without asking for permission. She placed her right hand flat on the polished mahogany table surface. She artificially softened her vocal tone to mimic a gentle maternal apology. She stated that the past 48 hours had been a terrible misunderstanding. She claimed my sudden financial withdrawal was simply a stress-induced overreaction on my part. David remained standing to intentionally establish a dominant physical height advantage. He placed a thick manila envelope on the table next to my filtered water glass. He spoke in a hushed but aggressive tone intended to intimidate me quietly. He proposed a legally binding truce to instantly resolve the ongoing familial tension. He offered to return precisely $40,000 of the stolen capital immediately. The remaining $102,550 would be classified as an unconditional business loan. He promised to repay this fabricated loan over a massive 72-month repayment period. He demanded I immediately restore their access to the corporate credit card network. He also required me to reinstate the protective legal shield over our father's hardware business. This was a classic psychological negotiation tactic designed to force a rapid compromise. They expected me to accept a massive financial loss just to restore family harmony. My mother whispered that public lawsuits would permanently destroy our entire public family reputation. She stated that I was legally and morally obligated to support my brother unconditionally. She attempted to grab my left hand to establish a physical emotional connection. I calmly retracted my hand and placed it securely back on my lap. I maintained unbroken eye contact with her while I mathematically analyzed their pathetic offer. I informed them in a steady voice that their proposed compromise was fundamentally absurd. I stated that I absolutely do not negotiate with individuals who steal my verified liquid capital. I stood up smoothly from the leather booth and picked up my secure corporate briefcase. The false truce was now officially terminated and the final trap was perfectly set. David slammed his fist onto the polished mahogany table. The physical impact registered at approximately 75 decibels. He loudly accused me of trying to destroy his entire life. The ambient noise of the organic bistro dropped to absolute zero instantly. 24 seated patrons turned their heads toward our table. This was the optimal environmental condition I required for maximum data deployment. I reached into my secure leather briefcase. I extracted my secondary mobile tablet. I unlocked the encrypted device using a localized biometric thumbprint scan. I opened the master forensic intelligence dossier. I maximized the display brightness to 100%. I rotated the high-definition screen outward. I began to read the documented text messages aloud to the silent room. My voice was perfectly calibrated for a sterile boardroom presentation. I stated that on Tuesday afternoon, a fraudulent wire transfer was executed. The exact stolen amount was $142,550. I clarified that this capital was illegally diverted to a commercial checking account. I looked directly at my brother. I read his exact unencrypted text message aloud. I quoted him stating that my blind familial trust made me an incredibly easy financial target. He had explicitly instructed our mother to exploit my tax preparation process. Have you ever publicly exposed a manipulative family member using their own unedited digital footprint? Tell me about your specific forensic extraction methodology in the comments section below. My mother physically froze in the leather booth. Her facial capillaries dilated instantly, causing a rapid red flushing effect across her cheeks. David attempted to aggressively grab the electronic device from my hands. I smoothly executed a calculated lateral step to maintain a safe physical distance. I continued reading the primary network logs. I informed the surrounding audience about the fabricated luxury sneaker boutique. I listed the specific data packets intercepted from their synchronized psychological manipulation thread. I stated that their documented actions met the exact legal definition of felony wire fraud. The surrounding patrons began whispering intensely. 3 individuals at adjacent tables began recording the interaction on their smartphones. I actively welcomed this decentralized digital documentation. David began stammering completely incoherently. He hastily attempted to construct a real-time verbal defense. He falsely claimed the text messages were synthetically generated by my algorithms. I calmly explained the concept of a cryptographic signature to the bistro audience. I told them that every single document carried an immutable digital hash. I generated a quick response barcode on my screen containing the read-only file. A nearby waiter actually raised his phone and scanned the displayed code. My mother finally realized the systemic collapse was total and completely irreversible. She stared at the table with a completely blank expression. The public gaslighting matrix had sustained a catastrophic structural failure. I zipped my secure leather briefcase smoothly. I walked out of the heavy glass doors. The final execution was an absolute technical perfection. I left them alone with their public ruin. The decentralized digital documentation from the organic bistro propagated rapidly across the internet. The smartphone video recorded by the patrons achieved viral distribution within exactly 48 hours. I watched the raw data flow across my encrypted dashboard. I monitored the network traffic analytics from a secure remote distance. The massive public exposure triggered a cascading series of catastrophic systemic financial failures for them all. David was the first to experience total infrastructure collapse. The commercial leasing agent for his sneaker boutique flagged the viral video during a routine reputational audit. They immediately terminated his commercial lease agreement at precisely 9:15 on Monday morning. They cited a strict zero-tolerance policy for public fraud and aggressive misconduct. Furthermore, the commercial bank officially froze his primary checking account. The frozen account contained the stolen $142,550. The internal corporate fraud department initiated a comprehensive forensic audit of his entire financial history. He was officially stripped of his stolen capital and his fabricated retail empire instantly. He was left completely paralyzed financially. My father faced an equally devastating financial liquidation protocol. The sudden removal of his protective corporate veil exposed his personal assets completely. The commercial vendors received their automated default notices regarding the $34,890. They immediately filed aggressive civil lawsuits against him personally. Without the limited liability company to shield his wealth, his primary residential property was instantly targeted as legal collateral. A local civil judge rapidly approved a preliminary asset freeze on all of his remaining personal bank accounts. His small legacy hardware business was forced into immediate involuntary Chapter 7 bankruptcy liquidation proceedings. My mother faced the most severe legal consequences of the entire biological group. My designated corporate attorney formally submitted the forensic intelligence dossier to the federal authorities. They officially classified her unauthorized digital access as severe felony wire fraud. She currently faces up to 20 years in a federal penitentiary. She desperately attempted to contact our extended family network for emergency legal bailouts. Every single relative denied her financial requests instantly. The comprehensive digital dossier I released had completely immunized the family network against her manipulation. Their fabricated social currency was entirely bankrupt. They were systematically evicted from their comfortable subsidized reality. The psychological gaslighting matrix was permanently taken offline forever. Their total systemic financial collapse was absolute and completely mathematically inevitable. It has been precisely 140 days since the severance protocol was successfully executed. I am sitting in my private office overlooking the Chicago skyline. The ambient temperature is a perfectly regulated 69 degrees. My offshore savings account balance is fully restored and currently sits at $212,400. My trading algorithms are currently yielding an optimized return of 14.3% this quarter. The asymmetry of our current realities is mathematically profound. They are completely trapped in a chaotic cycle of severe legal and financial friction. My mother is currently awaiting her federal fraud trial. David is working a minimum wage logistics job just to pay his court-mandated restitution. Their daily existence is a desperate struggle for basic caloric survival. My father lost his hardware business and now rents a small room. His retirement funds were completely liquidated to pay his outstanding legal fees. Have you ever successfully debugged a toxic relationship and permanently deleted the corrupted files from your life? Subscribe to the channel and let me know your extraction protocol below. Peace is not a mystical emotional state. Peace is simply the total absence of unmanaged systemic risk. It is the quiet hum of a perfectly balanced ledger. I no longer waste my processing bandwidth on unauthorized biological users. My personal financial infrastructure is completely optimized and entirely my own. The mathematical equation of my life is finally balanced perfectly. The volatile variables are permanently isolated. I close my secure laptop and watch the city lights flicker below. I take a slow breath of filtered air. My resting heart rate remains perfectly stable at exactly 58 beats per minute. The biological vulnerability has been successfully patched. The system runs flawlessly without error.